And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. Got to get there. So hit subscribe, watch, comment, and share. Share with family and friends because the insanity, the stupidity, the nonsense that every day we wake up to, it's not stopping unless we make it stop. Now, earlier this week, you all know that Trump appointed a young guy named E.J. Antoni. E.J. Antoni is now going to become the next commissioner of the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Remember, he just fired the last guy because he didn't like the job report numbers. Somewhere along the line, it was 175,000 to 17,000, 145 to 14,000. Okay, they're wrong. Now, I also want to explain to you the danger of what's going on here. Antoni was the chief economist for the Heritage Foundation. You know, the same group, Project 2025. Not exactly the best resume if you want to be the head of the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? Let me show you what Trump posted on Truth Social. In it, he writes, "I am pleased to announce that I am nominating highly respected economist Dr. E.J. Antoni as the next commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Our economy is booming, and EJ will ensure that the numbers released are honest and accurate. I know EJ Antoni will do an incredible job in this new role. Congratulations, EJ." Now, let me be very clear. It then came out that Antoni was seen. Let me show you just how bad this guy actually is. He was actually at the January 6th insurrection. Let me show you the photo. In it, see there right at the very bottom? That's E.J. Antoni. There's no arguments about it. This was a guy who decided that he needed to participate in an insurrection against our country. Amazing. Oh, I have an idea. Let's just frickin' confirm him. Let's just make him the head of labor statistics. Now, I want to show you part of an article regarding this. In it, it turns around and it says, Trump Bureau of Labor Statistics nominee was a bystander outside Capitol on January 6th. That, of course, is coming from the White House. The White House said E.J. Antoni was in town for meetings unrelated to Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. It further goes on to say E.J. Antoni, an economist from the Heritage Foundation, nominated by Trump this week, after the president fired the previous BLS head, appears in numerous videos posted on social media of the crowd on the Capitol grounds. Further, it says that the footage shows Antoni approximately an hour after the mob removed police barricades. Footage appears to show him leaving the grounds as people entered the Capitol and not entering the building. Antoni is on the west side of the Capitol in one video archived from the social media website Parler and appears in surveillance footage posted online by the Republican-led Committee on House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight. And finally, the article says these pictures show E.J. Antoni, a bystander to the events of January 6th, observing and then leaving the Capitol area. White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers said in an emailed statement, EJ was in town for meetings, and it is wrong and defamatory to suggest EJ engaged in anything inappropriate or illegal. Look, I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what he did. I haven't scoured the videos. I'll leave that for you to make your own decision. Now, let me say, my opinion, it's bad. But if it's not bad enough or a good enough reason for him not to be confirmed, his old colleagues have not so many positive things to say about him. Axios went out and they spoke to his past coworkers. And I actually want to show you what they said because it's unfortunately truly terrifying for the future of our country if he actually ends up in this role. In it, it turns around and it says, utterly unqualified. Trump BLS pick gets panned by conservative economists. Utterly unqualified. Let me show you what else they say. What they're saying, Antoni's fellow conservatives criticized his record as chief economist at the right-wing Heritage Foundation's Herman Center for the Federal Budget. Antoni's work at Heritage has frequently included elementary errors or nonsensical choices that all bias his findings in the same partisan direction. That's said by Stan Vuger, a senior fellow at the Conservative American Enterprise Institute, who told Axios' Courtney Brown and Emily Peck. Not too stellar, right? Well, let me tell you what Dave Hebert said. Dave is an economist at the Conservative American Institute for Economic Research. He wrote in a post on X that he's worked with Antoni before and implored the Senate to block the nomination. Here's his quote. I've been on several programs with him at this point and have been impressed by two things: his inability to understand basic economics and the speed with which he's gone MAGA. That's what Hebert said. Well, there's more. I almost feel like an infomercial. Conservative economists have cited examples of Antoni appearing to misunderstand the data that he would be responsible for as BLS head. Daniel DiMartino turned around and says, a fellow at the Conservative Manhattan Institute, he showed an instance of Antoni citing the rising number of Americans who aren't in the labor force without accounting for the role of the aging population. And here's again the quote. This is one of the many elementary errors that show me Mr. Antoni is unqualified for the labor market data collection and analysis role he was nominated for. Again, pretty freaking scathing. But wait, there's more. Jessica Rydell, a senior Manhattan Institute fellow, she shared another example from X in which Antoni appeared not to know that the BLS's measure of import prices did not account for the impact of tariffs. Here's her quote. The articles and tweets I've seen him publish are probably the most error-filled of any think tank economist right now. I hope we see better at BLS. It just doesn't stop. Now, Jason Furman, by the way, happens to be the judge's brother who refused me to be let out. So I don't particularly care for Jason Furman. He chaired the White House Council. By the way, his brother is Jesse Furman, who chaired the White House Council of Economic Advisors under Obama. He wrote on X, I don't think I have ever publicly criticized any presidential nominee before, but E.J. Antoni is completely unqualified to be BLS commissioner. Well, finally, at least I agree with one thing coming out of the Furman family. Economists also decried Antoni's suggestion that he would suspend the jobs report. It's something that we're going to touch on in about a half a minute. You see, here's the quote. That would be a serious mistake in my estimation. It would only fuel critiques of a politicization of job market data and likely result in volatility across asset classes. And that, of course, came from RSM US chief economist Joe Bruselas, who told that to Axios. I need to be very clear. Many times on this program, many times in my Substack, on my Mea Culpa podcast, on my YouTube channel, wherever I am at, I constantly talk about some, if not all, of the picks for positions by President Trump, whether it's the cabinet, commissioners, and so on. This is not based off of meritocracy. This is based off of loyalty. And what do we know? Let's just look at the facts here. We know that the previous BLS head was fired because Trump didn't like the data numbers. So if you don't like numbers, what do? Well, there's several options. One, just don't print them. And that's what they're going to do for the next 3 months. They're going to hold back for an entire quarter on putting out the monthly reports. And why? Well, probably because they already know that the numbers are not good. And they need to figure out a formula. And if anybody's going to be able to figure out how to play with numbers and to fudge them, it's this kid, E.J. Antoni. All right, that's the whole problem. Well, don't we need to know? Isn't it their obligation to report to us honestly truthfully, and most importantly, accurately. Instead, he's now putting in, we'll call him the Pete Hegseth of the Labor Statistics Bureau, somebody who's willing to do whatever it is that the president asks him to do. So if hypothetically there's only job creation of 14,000, I don't know, Trump will turn around and have him figure out how to make it 200,000, exceeding all market expectations, to which Trump will throw the fist back up into the air, talk about how well the US economy is doing, how we are the greatest country, and that his tariffs are actually working, helping to create jobs. And you're saying to yourself, well, how do tariffs help to create jobs? They're not even on the same axis. Doesn't matter. They're going to say it. And then this young man, Antoni, is going to get up there. I don't know where he'll be saying it from, but he will get up there, maybe in the Oval Office, standing right next to the president, and he will make a statement that there were over 200,000 jobs created thanks to the president, his policies, tariffs, etc. I can't begin to emphasize how dangerous this is to our democracy, to our country, to the economics of our country's success. You know, Trump makes it sound as if though this country was in total disaster free fall, going bankrupt at the end of the Biden administration. And all you need to do is look for yourself. Economy was doing great. As far as I've seen from every single number, from every report, our gross domestic product is more than double of that of China by the end of the Biden administration. Now, we're still more than double of China. The problem becomes, what ends up happening here as a result of the tariffs, as a result of fake numbers? We're already watching China moving in on all of, say, Latin America, Mexico, Spain, etc. We're watching them muscle in. What do you think is going to end up happening? You think we're going to continue to do business? The answer is no. And so our economy is going to go down. China's is going to go up. That's unfortunately the reality if we keep following this ridiculous pattern. It's why I constantly say, help me to grow this platform so that we can finally put an end to all of this stupidity. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.